Ladies, today I wanted to have a conversation with you, not as an architect, not as a business owner, not as someone who has it all figured out, because believe me, I don't, but simply as a woman speaking to other women. If I was to sit down with my younger self over a cup of coffee or with a friend, these are some of the things that I would tell her. Over the years, I've realized that success isn't about working harder, but it's about having the right systems in place. It's about how you carry yourself, how you show up every day. It's about the habits that you build when no one is watching. As women in business, we're often juggling many things at the same time. That might be clients, finances, our personal lives, family, and so many other things that can feel like we are carrying a lot at the same time. And somewhere along the way, many of us forget to look after ourselves. So today, I wanted to share some habits that I learned along the way to look after myself and also the business that I'm managing. So before we start, I wanted to ask you a question. Do you feel like you're carrying everything? This might be the pressure to succeed, the pressure to keep going. And yet, despite everything you've achieved, you may feel a little bit lost, a little bit tired, a little bit lonely. If that's you, then this video is for you. And if you're new here and you like this kind of content, where we talk about wellness, not only in the environments and the spaces that we live in, but also how we need to look after ourselves when managing our businesses, whether you are a creator or an entrepreneur or someone who is also working for another company. I love the direction that this channel is taking because it is slowly becoming something that is for women entrepreneurs, ambitious women, creatives, and for professionals who are building meaningful lives without feeling lost along the way. The truth is, entrepreneurship can be one of the most rewarding journeys that you can take, but it can also be one of the most loneliest ones as well. People often see the success, they see the posts on social media, they see that you're presenting yourself well, but they do not know the stories that are going behind the scenes and all the sacrifices that you have to make to keep the business going and to keep your head up throughout the process. They don't see the self-doubts, the late nights, and the difficult decisions that you have to make all on your own. There may be moments where you're asking yourself, am I really doing enough? Am I simply being lazy, or am I even taking the right path? And believe me when I say this, I don't want this video to be a motivational speech, but I want it to be a simple conversation as sisters who are simply talking about the journey of entrepreneurship and the journey of being a creative, no matter what field you're in. And this is the kind of conversation that I wish I had with someone many years ago. If I could sit down with my 21-year-old self, the girl that was in architecture school, who was working hard on making models, doing the drawings, spending late nights trying to figure out if the ideas even made sense and if the tutors would approve. These are the things that I would tell her. I would let her know that she doesn't need to become someone else to succeed. As many of you know, I work in architecture and construction, which is known to be a very male-dominated industry. And over the years, I've heard all kinds of advice. People will tell me, be tougher, put your foot down, be more assertive when you speak. Don't take no for an answer. And whilst I also understood the advice that was given behind all of those words that were being said to me, I also learned something that was very important. I simply don't need to become a man to succeed. And I know it sounds silly to say that, but at some point within my career, especially when you're working in construction, you are made to feel like you need to become someone else when you are a woman. I worked in top tier construction industries, and I sometimes felt like that masculine energy was really imposed on most of us women. I don't need to become mean to lose my kindness, and definitely not lose my femininity. I don't need to lose those very qualities that make me exactly who I am. Can I be firm? Absolutely. And trust me, those who know me would 100% attest to that. Can I set boundaries? Of course. Can I stand up for myself? Without a question. But strength and grace can exist together. Kindness and confidence can exist together. Femininity and leadership can also coexist. And I honestly think that many women need to hear that today, because somewhere along the line, we've been taught that being powerful means being harder. But I don't believe that. I believe that true confidence comes from knowing exactly who you are. And knowing who you are also takes time. So that means that you need to spend a lot more time by yourself to understand who you are, what you like, your boundaries, and what you simply do not want to change. And along the way, you also just need to carry yourself accordingly. There is something I wish that we also talked about, which is chronic stress. Not the occasional stressful day, not the tiresome week, but I'm talking about the kind of stress that has somehow become a normality to you. The stress that follows you everywhere, that keeps you up late at night, the stress that kind of makes you feel like you're always behind, and that convinces you that resting is being lazy. If we're honest, many of us wear stress like it's a badge of honor. What if being stressed slowly becomes your personality? What if you're so used to surviving that you've completely forgot what it feels like to thrive? One of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that protecting my peace is not a luxury, but it's a responsibility. If I'm constantly working under pressure, then my whole entire being is suffering. Creativity suffers, our relationships suffer, our confidence suffers, our decision making also suffers, and eventually, and most importantly, our health will be impacted as well. Ladies, your mind matters. You deserve a life that truly feels good on the inside and not just that looks great on the outside. So give yourself permission to slow down. Let your nervous system slow down. Give yourself permission to take a walk, and if possible, even turn your phone off for 1 hour. Spend time with God. Learn to say no. Learn to ask for help. Rest before your body forces you to. Because burnout isn't a badge of success, and trust me, I know exactly what that feels like. But seriously, exhaustion isn't proof of ambition. The goal isn't simply to build successful businesses, but it's to build a successful life altogether. One where you are healthy enough, strong enough, and joyful enough to truly enjoy everything that you have created. Sometimes we focus so much on productivity that we forget to ask ourselves one important question, and that is, how am I actually doing? Not how the business is doing, not the clients, not my family, not my friends, but how am I doing? Success means very little if you're exhausted all the time. And over the years, I've learned that wellness can simply mean getting enough sleep. It can mean meditating, taking a day off without feeling guilty, and simply, again, protecting your peace. It can look like choosing relationships that encourage you to keep going and be motivated, rather than relationships that drain you. For me, wellness means showing up in the best version of myself that I can, rather than burning myself out and being everything to everyone. When you are well, everything else benefits too, and you begin to operate from a place of fullness and confidence. For me, showing confidence starts with something very simple, and that is standing tall. Literally, I'm about 5'10". And I know you can't tell because obviously I'm sitting down. But growing up, I was the tallest girl amongst all my friends. And honestly, there were moments where I felt very self-conscious about it. And in Lingala, and if you didn't know, I'm originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, we have a term where people say azoki mamulai, and this literally means running away from being tall. Sometimes our parents will say this to us when they see that you're walking, but you're hunched and you're not walking and with your back straight. And growing up, my parents always taught me to stand tall, no matter how shy I was, that I needed to walk tall and also embrace it. And I think about that phrase often because I feel like many of us do this in life, not necessarily physically, but emotionally and professionally. We shrink ourselves, we lower our voice, we apologize for being ambitious, and we apologize for taking space. Why are we running away from the gifts and the talents that God has given us? Confidence isn't built in public, but it is built in private. It is built in the way that you care for yourself. And ladies, let me remind you something. You matter too. Not just your business, not your clients, not your family and friends, but you. Some of us are so busy building a business that we've completely forgotten what it looks like to look after ourselves. We've convinced ourselves that we'll rest later, we'll travel later, we'll buy that watch later, we'll buy that perfect perfume that smells so great that we love, that we'll get it later. But why not do it now? Life is happening right now. You don't need thousands, you don't need luxury everything, but you simply need to enjoy those very little moments that make you happy. Wear the perfume, buy the flowers. Why are you waiting for someone to buy you flowers? I'm a plant mom and I love my babies. I love flowers too. So if I see anything nice, I buy it. If you didn't know, I'm also a landscape architect. So I love greenery. I love being surrounded by nature. And my living room is slowly becoming a greenhouse, but that's okay. But I feel like they make me really happy. I know the benefits of having plants, and hence why in my videos, I encourage you guys to buy plants for your home. So I got a little bit lost into plant world, but I was talking about looking after yourself. Take yourself out to lunch every now and again. A solo date is not uncommon. Visit that museum, go to the gallery, be in a setting that truly makes you happy. Find something that you know you will flourish in and that will just give you that peace of mind. Learn who you are when no one else is around you. Being alone and being lonely are two separate things. One of the best things that I've done is intentionally place myself in environments outside of work where I can meet other people and just network. Networking is great, but they don't always have to be business events. Maybe you can take a Pilates class, you can do a sip and paint event, try badminton, go walking with a group of people who just want to hike, for example. I'm personally looking forward to learn how to ride horses because I absolutely love horses. It teaches you about posture, composure, and all the things. And most of all, the horses are just beautiful, right? The goal overall is to step outside your everyday routine and environment, to meet people, to have conversations. You never know, opportunities can sometimes come outside of your typical events that you might attend. Productivity isn't necessarily about doing more, but it is doing what matters. As women, we need to understand that we can't do everything. You simply need to do what you can with excellence. And when you need help, ask for it. You were never designed to carry all the responsibilities alone. Maybe have a mentor, talk to a friend, another professional within your field, so that you have someone with who you can bounce your ideas off of and not always have to carry the burden alone. Maybe you can also have someone help you a few hours a week. Allow yourself to have some breathing space, just so that you can also have some time for you. Throughout my journey, my faith has been my anchor. I grew up reading my Bible in French, and even today, some scriptures, when I read them in English, I'm sorry to say, but sometimes it just doesn't hit as well as when I'm reading them in French. It just seems to make a bit more sense to me. And I just wanted to share a few verses that are helping me and that have helped me throughout my business journey. One of the verses is Proverbs 18:16. Les présents d'un homme lui élargissent la voie et lui donnent accès auprès des grands. Your gifts will make room for you. And I want you to remember that you have talents, you have gifts. You just need to take the time to see what they are. And again, spend some time alone. It's not boring. It's so that you can understand who you truly are and what you can truly achieve. Another verse I turn to often is Philippians 4:19. Et mon Dieu pourvoira à tous vos besoins selon sa richesse avec gloire en Jésus-Christ. Whenever I feel uncertain about business, about finances, or about the future, this reminds me that God will provide. Not the next client, not the next project, not the next opportunity, but God. And remembering all of those verses truly brings me peace. Before I finish, I want to talk to you about something that's close to my heart, and that's the Design Board Collective. People often ask me why I've created it, and the answer is simple. I've created it because I was thinking of the young 21-year-old Sarah, the architecture student who had dreams but didn't know who to talk to, the young woman trying to figure out her future, the young woman preparing to enter a male-dominated industry. I needed direction, community. And when I think about the design board, I think about ideas coming together. And when I think about the collective, I think about the people bringing those ideas together. And that is truly what community is. Some of the healthiest, happiest, and most successful people I've met are surrounded by amazing communities. People who encourage them, challenge them, celebrate their wins, and remind them who they are when they're forgotten. That's one of the reasons why the Design Board Collective means so much to me. It's not just about business, but it's about belonging. A place where you feel seen, encouraged, comfortably share your wins, and also your challenges too. A place where creatives, entrepreneurs, and ambitious women can learn from one another. Not because we have all the answers, but because we're walking on this journey together. If that sounds like something you've been looking for, you'll see the link in the description below. And if this conversation spoke to you, subscribe and join us. Success is wonderful. Achievement is wonderful. But the journey becomes so much more meaningful when you don't have to walk it alone. Thank you for spending time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.